Hey boys, I know normally I wait for people to join the live stream. There's only like a dozen people in here. I'm just gonna jump right in because I couldn't sleep. I got out of bed, came down, decided to check out the charts. Things started making some moves, so I jumped in and I noticed a few things. And I obviously normally just go right to the VIP group and tell all those guys, but I figured let me do a really quick public live stream because I haven't done one with Twitter in a while. A lot of guys aren't in the group. If you're not in the group, you should join the group. But whatever, that's a whole nother story. Um, I hear the kids stirring upstairs. My wife Jenny is gonna call me probably any minute and say, "Hey, the twins are up and screaming. Can you please come up here and get them?" So I really only have that long until my phone rings. I'm going to dive right in and show you a couple quick things. So number one, with the way I use my Ichima model, I use it on different time frames differently. For those who aren't familiar, you're more than welcome to join Flux Training Group. I love teaching this stuff. Ask anybody who's a member. I'm obsessed with sharing this information. I have really simple strategies and techniques and models, and it's really not that difficult. I share a lot of content for free on Twitter, but if you want to join the group, I'd appreciate the support, and we can work one-on-one together, and I can teach you pretty much everything I know. That said, for those of you who follow me on Twitter who are aware of my system, the way I use the EMAs in the cloud. The cloud is absolutely crucial, and one of the key aspects of the way I use the Ichimoku cloud is that the top and the bottom of the cloud are often very strong supports. Just look, for instance, right? We're riding along here, we're bouncing right along the top of the cloud, big shot up, huge dump here, bounce right off the top of the cloud before a huge breakout. That's where I would have bought, right there on CHC. That big bounce off the top of the cloud, that's when I would have bought because I'd hit one of my main supports. How about this? Big dump here, bounce right off the top of the cloud, right? So what happens is you get these cloud walls where you end up in a position where you start building up momentum, but you're going into an upward swinging wall where this essentially the top of the wall, remember what I said, the top of the Ichimoku cloud is a really strong support, right? So what happens when you have a strong support that's going like this? Well, look at the line. I could simply draw a support trend line like that based off the path of where the top of the cloud goes. I could draw a potential future trend line like this. It's very possible this will be a trend line for the next 2 or 3 days, right? So that's one of the things I noticed a lot because of the way we were trading before in the big breakout and the way the cloud is calculated. There's a lot of bullish looking charts right now that are showing some action where we're moving up along the cloud. Look at some of the biggest breakouts we're seeing. ADA, for instance, it came up against, this is again what I call a cloud wall where you're coming up, right? You're hitting a wall of the Ichimoku cloud main support, which is the top of the cloud, and you just rock it up. That's one example. I just shared a trade with the group with that CHC trade because I spotted that we were starting to pull up along the top of the cloud right here. There's a pretty decent chance we can run up right here on CHC and catch up to some of these other breakout plays. You'll notice a lot of these. Look, ZRX. I didn't get into a trade in ZRX yet, but same thing. ZRX looks really bullish based off of that same principle. So that's a really, really helpful tool that I like. Some of them are stuck in the cloud, which I'm not as excited about getting into. XTZ breaking out nicely, riding up along the front of the cloud, right? And again, this is on the 4-hour. The 4-hour model's been tremendously accurate lately. I use it on different time frames, my system, but the 4-hour model's been great. ZEC, cloud wall, boom, running up along the front of the cloud, right? HOT hasn't really broken out yet. There's a good chance it will. As a matter of fact, this one doesn't look as good. Let me show you some of the others that actually look better. Like BNB, for instance. I just shared a trade with a group. I got into BNB. Here we go. Algo, 6% breakout, running along the top of the cloud, right? That cloud wall from the top of the Ichimoku cloud is a really strong support. What did I say? The top and the bottom of the cloud in my Ichimoku model are two of my key dynamic supports. Look at the bottom of the cloud for the super support right here. Look at the top of the cloud for the super support right here. If you were to buy at those points, you'd be in an excellent position right now for this particular breakout. Look, we're breaking out right now. We're pushing up. Algo just went up another 0.5%. I can go up my entire watch list. So Neo just broke out, and now that's getting up there. Now, in this case, you also have to know how I use my strategy because I have the 55 EMA, which is a strong resistance. I probably wouldn't get into this until it got a little bit higher. Plus, the cloud doesn't range up as high, so I may want to look for other ones that look like better entries. But that same principle is at play with a lot of things here. Same thing with MTL. By the way, this kind of pissed me off, but like some of the biggest breakouts from this big bull run that we just had, I had these calls right before it, and I just got stopped out. I got in just a little bit too early. I got in right here, and look, if I got in over here, I would have got that huge MTL breakout, but instead I got stopped out. There was another one that was just like that. So ONT, I was thinking about getting in because we're in a similar position, but I didn't pull the trigger on it just yet. The stoch is really high on some of these, and one of the other principles of how I trade, when the stochastic oscillator gets that high, especially on the 4-hour, look what happened the last time it was that high, that was the big dump. The last time it was that high, we got a big dump right here, right? So since we're getting up pretty high on the stoch, except we're not quite overbought, we're not really in the black yet, so there's a good chance you can get into ONT for a little bit of a breakout. I started setting up a trade here, but I ended up not making a play on it. There was another really good one I wanted to show you. Which one was it? Oh, this was my vet trade was just absurd. I got in right at the top of the cloud on that bounce, and then look, it came back down, bounced off the top of the cloud again. Then it got above my EMAs, which are the other aspect of my Ichimo model, and I went on an epic run. I did 75% on this vet breakout. I sold and got stopped out with like probably 48%, and then the rest of it at 65%. So I didn't quite make 75%, but still very accurate call, again based on my model. And look what happened. We kind of ran up as soon as we came down and tapped the top of the cloud. Look what's happened ever since. If you bought in when it hit the top of the cloud down here, or even after it started bouncing back up, you would be up 18% right now on this particular breakout. Again, with the bottom out of the stoch, right as it hit the bottom of the cloud. Bottom of the stoch is the bottom before we turn up. Tapping the top of the cloud is a strong support before we bounce up, and you could have caught that whole run up along that cloud wall. Same thing with VET. FTM, it's stuck down below the cloud. Some of these other ones. I think BNB was one. I did definitely just get into BNB. So XRP, I had an ascending triangle here. I didn't pull the trigger in time, and it's already breaking out. Kind of too late for that. But BNB, it wasn't too late. So I just shared this with the group, and look, we're already breaking out. So it looked a lot like XRP. The difference was XRP already broke above that ascending triangle, so I missed out on it. BNB hasn't really. I was able to get in just above the ascending triangle, and it's already pushing up here. Similar situation here with the stoch being really high, where there's a good chance we could start coming back down soon. So I don't want everybody to get too excited. This is looking really good. It looks like we're starting a breakout rally right now, but what happens sometimes, you get into these starting rallies, right? And then all of a sudden you retrace and come back down hard. And the reason that can happen, and this is the last thing I want to show you before I let you go so I can go wake up the kids. Oh, TRX. I got into TRX too because it's riding up against a strong... there's the bottom of the cloud on the hourly, but I'm working on the 4-hour now. On the 4-hour, again, similar thing. We have this cloud wall here, which is going to provide a lot of support. There's a really good chance we could see TRX push up. And similar with BNB as well. Really good chance we could see BNB break up. In this case, it's not the cloud. I'm actually more concerned about being in the cloud plus having the breakout from the ascending triangle. But what I wanted to warn you about is sometimes you'll get these. Oh, and Link was my other. I have an ascending triangle on Link. I haven't even told the group about this yet, but I'm setting buy orders up here at 1307. So if we do push up above the ascending triangle, I'm going to want to get in, because if we get that far into the cloud, there's a pretty solid probability we run up to the top of the cloud. So that could be a 10-12% gainer unless we see a bigger breakout from the majors. But what the caution I wanted to throw your way is for those who are familiar with how I use my stoch model. I call it my Sith stoch model, where on the stochastic oscillator, a lot of the best, most successful trading I've ever done have come from that simplest of strategies. So like look at Ethereum, for instance, right? Let's look at the daily because the 4 hours kind of a mess. Actually, you can't even really do that because this last breakout kind of sent everything haywire. You can see it in this segment here for a little bit. So when you get these nice clean up and down waves of the stoch cycle, I know most of you are familiar with this. Watch the price, right? We bottom out on the stoch, bottom out on the stoch. Run up on the price as we're running up on the stoch. Hit the top of the stoch and you start to come back down. Top of the stoch, you start to come back down. This is the bottom of the price dump right there, right? Right as we bottom out on the stoch and reverse up. And look what happens. We come up again. Price comes up again with it. The price comes down a little bit, right as the stoch comes down a little bit. The stoch settles, pushes up again. When it pushes up again, we see the price run up again. So this momentum oscillator, the stochastic oscillator, is such an insanely valuable tool, and it is fucking ridiculous how simple it is. Literally that one indicator with the proper settings. I don't use the default settings. I use, in the case of for my Stoke, I use 533, and that's not the Stoke RSI. That's just the stochastic oscillator with the 533 settings. When you get into these repetitive waves like this ride up, you hit the top here, then you come back down, then you come back down. So because of what the Stoke looks like now, sometimes you could get up like this where it's really high. See how it's really high? But you don't come back down. When it's in this super hyper bullish mode, even though the Stoke is really high, even though the RSI is really high, the price just keeps on going up. So that does happen sometimes. I haven't calculated it recently, but usually it's between 20 and 30% of the time. There's a chance that that can happen. So right now, if we look at the 4 hour, you'll see we have what looks like a really solid breakout across the market. I've already shown you why some of these look really bullish with the top of the cloud providing a ton of support for my Ichima model, right? So we're on the same page there. The one thing that I'm cautious about is the 4 hour Stoke is really high on most of these. Even the ones that are breaking out like XRP, which again, I called this, I had the ascending triangle. I was about to share a trade with the group and I just got busy looking at other charts and I just missed it. I'm hoping TRX and BNB can give me that same breakout. TRX is already doing it, so guys in the group who followed me, you're making money right now. BNB should be right behind. There's a really good chance that could break out here. And the other trades I was going to get into, it's, you know, they're breaking out, so I'm missing. But it is what it is. So if you look at a lot of these, especially the ones that have made a more solid move like ADA, I mean, these are really high on the Stoke. And it's not just the 4 hour. So don't worry about the hourly right now. I'm looking more at the 4 hour and the daily. The ones that have a lower daily, right, that can still come up, those might actually start a bull run. But short term, because the 4 hour is so high, there's still a 70 or 80% chance that we're going to come lower and you'll get a better entry. So because we're breaking out right now doesn't mean you have to buy in right now. A lot of the time when you see a breakout like this on a lot of these, the best thing to do is to wait and see if it comes back down a little bit. Because if it does come down a little bit and you see the 4 hour come down a little bit, right, that would be the time to get in when the 4 hour gets a little bit lower, because then it can start another wave up. Because once the 4 hour gets up in this range on the Stoke and it's that overbought, it becomes really hard for it to keep pushing higher. But again, it can happen 20 or 30% of the time, right? So you have to work the numbers. You have to say, all right, well, there's a 70% chance that we're going to come back down a little bit and I'll get a better entry on the next 2 or 3 4 hour candles. So I'm not going to get into ADA right now because it's already pumped up 17%. Is there a chance it's going to go all the way up 70% and you'll miss out? Yes. But you're playing the numbers, you're managing your risk. So it's insane to say when there's only a 20 or 30% chance of it continuing to break out, and there's a 60 or 70 or 80% chance that it's going to come down a little lower first, you're much better off waiting for it to come down lower. So right now, if you're seeing all these things breaking out and you think there's some good trades to get into, go for it. But just be aware of that. Be cognizant of that. Feel free to look at what I just showed you when I called this XRP breakout in front of your eyes when I said we broke the ascending triangle and we have a really strong support from the top of the cloud, as well as some of the others. Keep an eye on that, but make sure you watch the Stoke. In the case of XRP, I really wish I got into it 10 minutes ago because, again, I called it, and the Stoke's not quite as high in the 4 hour, so I think there's a lot more room to run here. I think XRP could easily get back up to probably 70 cents. I wouldn't be surprised if it pushes up to 70 cents in the next 2, maybe 3 candles. She hasn't called me yet, which means she's still passed out, and the kids are probably screaming, so I'm going to go upstairs and get them. That was just a quick public live stream to remind you guys of some of my models, because you haven't heard from me on a public live stream in a while. And feel free to join the group if you guys want to. Again, I love teaching this shit, and the more I can spend on the group, and the less time I have to risk my capital trading, because by having a group where people support me in the VIP group, I don't have to spend as much time trading and risking my capital, which is much better because I have 17 trillion children. All right, guys, thanks for stopping by. Let me know if you have any questions. You can respond to my Twitter post where I shared the link to the live stream and ask me questions there. And if you guys, for guys who are in the group, just obviously DM me or get on a voice call with me, whatever you need. Just I'll talk to you later. Once I get settled in for the day and the kids get to eat and Jenny wakes her lazy ass up. She's so lazy. She thinks because she has 2-year-old twins and a newborn, she could just like lay in bed. The fucking nerve. I carried that baby for 9 months. All right. Anyway, when she wakes up and I get some help, I would probably jump on and maybe enter some more trades. I'm not going to share any more publicly, but at least in the group, I'll let you guys know if I spot anything else. All right, guys. I'll talk to you in a bit. Thanks. Oh, and by the way, for those who don't know me or people who haven't been in my streams before, I realize I talk absurdly fast. I think fast, I talk fast, I act fast. It's just who I am. YouTube happens to have a feature for people just like Jesse who doesn't shut the fuck up. So if you play back this live stream later, you could do it at half speed so you can actually understand what I'm saying. All right, thanks.